Hello crafty friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Natalie and today I'm going to create a congratulations clean and simple card using these two dies. I've got an edge die with a star pattern and quite a large long congratulations sentiment die. So these two dies have basically dictated the size of my card. I've used the starry edge die to edge a panel, and the stars run all the way from one side of the panel to the other. This is about it's 5¼ inches wide. So this is going to sit on my card blank. I'm using smooth white cardstock today because I wanted to do some ink blending and get it quite smooth. So this is my card blank, which is about 1/4 inch larger on the top and the bottom, and this will sort of shuffle over there, and I'll have a bit of coloured cardstock peeking out there, and that's what I'm going to do my ink blending on, this little panel. And I've cut this to the same width as the edged piece, but I don't know quite how deep I'm going to want it, so I'm going to blend the whole panel and then I can choose what area is sticking out and chop it off accordingly. So that's what we're going to start with today, a bit of ink blending. So I've popped my blending panel on a grip mat to keep it still, and I'm going to use Distress Oxides in Peacock Feathers, Wilted Violet and Chipped Sapphire. And because my edge die has stars on it, I'm going to create a night sky type affair here. So I think we'll start with the peacock feathers. Might not be the first colour you think of when you think of a night sky, but it reminds me a bit of the Aurora Borealis. I'm just coming in from the sides and creating a few nice areas of intense colour that fade out a bit at the edges. I do want this to be fairly smooth, I think, although I am going to distress it by splattering on some water and adding some paint on top. I think that will do for now. Then I'll come in with a purple. I want my chipped sapphire to be a kind of darkening colour, a vignette colour. So I'm going to leave that till last. Fill in these gaps with the wilted violet. And you get a nice dark indigo there where the two colours blend, so I'm quite happy with that. I do want to maintain some of this brighter green though, to give it that sort of glowing feeling. Now for a bit of chipped sapphire. I'm going to go in around the edge. Like I say, I'm not quite sure which area of the card I'm going to use, so I might have to come back and blend if I decide to chop and use an area in the middle. But we'll start off with this little vignette and then come in to add a bit of dark around and about, and come back with a bit more peacock feathers here and there. So if I use this bit, we've got a bit of all the colours. We've got a bit of the dark blue, the chipped sapphire, some nice glowy bits of peacock feathers and some wilted violet. So I may end up using that end. I think that will do for now. This is my water spritzer. I'm just going to spritz on some droplets and put some in my hand and flick those on for some larger droplets. Oh, there's a very big droplet in the middle there. Give that a second and roll over my paper towel to pick up the water and the colour. And I will peel that off and give it a blow dry. I'm going to cut my sentiment and some stars out of this matte gold foil card. But before I do that, I want to spatter on some gold. And this gold is sort of similar, probably not quite as yellow, but I think that'll do quite nicely for for some splattery stars on my night sky here. I've added some water to get it going. And then I'm just going to spatter it on, gently tapping, because I don't want too much or too large circles. Splatters. I'm going to cover the whole thing. I want lots of stars in my night sky. So I think I will use this edge. I think it's got nice variation, nice gold splatters on it. So I'm going to cut that down. I'm going to mark it first, give myself quite a bit of wiggle room there. What I want to do with this bit is cover it in clear embossing powder and obviously heat it to give it a really lovely shine. But I thought I'd show you another way in which you can create that shine. If you haven't come across this before, you can just stick packing tape, clear packing tape obviously, over the top of it. You need fairly decent packing tape, which this isn't, I do have to say, so it's not a technique I'm going to use today. This has got a few sort of lines in it, which you can probably cut around if you're doing something small like a sentiment, but you might see these once it's all down. So I'm going to carefully lay that on top, give it a burnish with my thumb, peel it off the surface, and whoops, you can obviously cut the excess off with scissors or a guillotine, and you could die cut from this, whoops, quite happily. Run that through your die cutting machine or use craft punches or something, and you get a nice shiny surface, and the gold still glitters through that. So the bonus of this obviously is that it is virtually mess free and very, very quick. So we'll take the bit that I do want to use and we'll heat emboss it, but I'm just going to make life a little bit easier for myself and attach a handle with a bit of tape runner so that I can pick that up, because this whole bit is going to be heat embossed and I don't want to stick my finger in melted embossing powder. So we're just going to smush our Versamark or whatever your embossing ink is on there. So now actually, if you look at that, it's got quite a nice shine to it with just the Versamark, and it's deepened the colours a bit. You can use an ink pad like this or an embossing dauber. So if you wanted to leave it like that with just the embossing ink on, you could. You need to obviously leave it to dry a bit, I would say. And then you can dip it in your clear embossing powder and heat emboss it. I want to give this a second coat. If I was doing a smaller piece, I'd just warm it with my heat gun and put it back in there. But as it's quite a large piece, it's hard to get an even meltiness across the whole area. So I'm going to smush my embossing ink back on top and then pop it in the embossing powder again. But I will give it a second or two to set, give it a waft. Right, here we have the 3 panels. This is the one I've just heat embossed. This is the one I used the packing tape on. This has got nothing on it. You can see the lovely shine on these two, but this one has got a bit of dimension to it. It kind of bevels at the edges, which I really like. But this is so quick and easy. And obviously with this, you've still got the shimmer and shine of the gold. And you could put embossing ink on it to give it a bit more of a shine if you wanted. But there's 3 ways of treating that panel for a night sky. So before we go any further, I'm going to add, whoops, my stars to my, oh, we've boned up. Get my piercing tool. I'm going to add my stars to my night sky. Spread this out. Go old school with an old school glue spreader. And my tweezers and tamp that down in there. Quick and easy way of adding a small amount of glue to the back of intricate die cuts without squishing it everywhere. So let's see how much we want peeking out. About that much, I'd say. I'm going to press it down with my deli paper so I don't get glue all over my hands or muck all over my die cut. So it's time for a bit more die cutting. I'm going to cut some stars and the word congratulations out of this gold cardstock. I'm going to put double-sided tape on the back to make life easier in a minute. And I'm also going to cut some stars out of vellum. And I'm going to put double-sided tape, because vellum's always a bit tricky to adhere because you can see through it. But if you cover the back in double-sided tape, it doesn't show, because the whole of it is covered in double-sided tape. Might make it a little bit more frosted, but that's not a problem. So let's do some stars first. So the stars should, more or less, there's a few that haven't, stay in there. Whoops, what's that doing there? That's off the top of my glue. We'll just poke out the ones that have stayed in and put those to one side. We don't need all these stars. I'm going to do some inlaying, but I'm not going to inlay every star. I want some of that night sky to poke through. And I'll slice this in half because I don't want to, oh, they could go through together I suppose, but I've done it now. I'm going to run this one through and then we'll run the congratulations through. Again, we're just after a few stars. And I can always find a use for extra gold stars. I think stars always go well with the congratulations sentiment, or congratulations always goes well with stars. Right, now that is staying in there, and I'm not going to take that out just yet because keeping the die cut in there will help me to stop this long wiggly die cut from changing shape as I lay it down. So we'll leave that in there like that. Now I'm going to assemble my card. So here's my panel and my card base. What I want to do before I stick it down is add a bit more card there so that this is all at the same level. I mean, it won't be perfectly at the same level because the night sky bit has been heat embossed, so it's slightly thicker, but this won't, it won't show. You could pop it up on craft foam if you wanted to add a little bit of dimension, that might look nice. So I'm going to stick the congratulations on first because then I can figure out where I want to put my stars once this is all done. I'm going to poke out all the extraneous bits from the loops of the letters. Seem to have lost the dot off my eye, but that's not going to be a problem because I've got a plan for that. I want this fairly central on the card and I want it to sit nicely above the row of stars, and I want it to look straight as opposed to wonky. Get rid of all these little bits, they're sticking to me. I'm going to be covered in them all day now. Whoops, it's come out. That's okay. Okay, so I think that's about right. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to carefully poke that C through the first letter and then lift it off, and it should be more or less perfect. And I can just press it down where I want it because it's got that double-sided tape on the back. Now for the dot on the eye, I'm going to use a little star. Oh, hang on, let's take the backing off first. That one. Stuck it to my finger, and we can add it over there. And I want to put a few gold stars here. I don't want to fill up all the stars, but I'll maybe put 2 or 3 in there. I can make sure I get the right star in the right hole by hovering this over the right place. That one there, I think. Now for the vellum stars. Pop you in there. It's just a little bit of difference, a little bit of variation. Get it in the right hole. And push that down, burnish it so you get that see-throughness. And I want a few gold stars and maybe some vellum stars. I don't think the vellum's going to show up particularly, but it's just a little subtle difference up here. Oh yeah, you can see them. And I might overlap some gold and vellum up there, but I want to keep this area empty so that it is clean and simple. So let's think, do we want any more? I think that might actually do it. I'm wondering about having, where's that one gone? Stuck to my finger. About having the gold star in there, because that is quite an empty space compared to everything else that's going on. Might have one more of these little gold stars there. Right, that's it. I think we're all done with this card. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you back here for day 16, I think, of Die Cut December. Bye for now.